Hey Natkamon, the IEEE WIS conference is 30 years old. It should be important to start analyzing how our field has progressed since then in terms of gender representation.
That sounds like an interesting question. What has been done so far on the topic in our community?
Well, at IEEE WIS, we now have a new charter and written down directives for diversity. And a lot of volunteers are putting in effort into different diversity initiatives. But what we're missing is empirical data about what, for example, gender representation looks like. And I actually agree with Mitoyan Gator, who said that we need to begin to collect this data if we want to understand where our community is and where we want to go. Now, come on, what can we do about that?
I have seen this done before. There are many things that we can explore. Many past work analyze the gender representation in scientific publications, co-author position, and comparing research career and productivity between genders. Let's see what data we need.
I have helped to curate the WISPAP data set for many years, and in it we have all the IEEE WIS papers and their authors. And from the first names of these authors, we can infer at least a binary gender automatically and clean the results by hand to make them more reliable.
Yes, thanks to all co-authors for helping to clean this data. I also use the first year of DBLP publication as a proxy for their career age in computer science research.
Excellent. So let's start with our analysis. One of the first things I want to know is how many female authors we currently have at the conference.
I looked at IEEE WIS publication data in the past 5 years, and I found that 22% of authors were women.
Interesting. So is that high or low for computer science?
The Elsevier report around 25% of women in STEM publications, and Wang et al. Estimate 26% women in computer science publications.
Okay, so it seems that we are a little bit low, but are things at least changing over time?
Yes, they are. We see a steady increase in the number of authors for both genders. We use the green color for men and the purple color for women. New authors are shown at dot lines, and gray lines are authors for whom we could not infer gender. That means the proportion of women in IEEE WIS publication has increased from 9% in the first 5 years to 22% in the recent 5 years.
Okay, and is there any difference for each conference we used to have at WIS?
It seems so. I found that 27% of women published at InfoWIS, while 22% published at WAS. SciWIS had the smallest representation of women at about 14%.
So thanks for that information. I'm excited to see what the gender representation for the new area model will look like.
Me too.
So next, I wonder if there's any difference in the research careers of women and men in our community.
We can look at each researcher career by deriving measures from publication data. First, we can try to measure the average career age at which each author published their first, second, third paper, and so on. And here, you can see a line chart that compares both genders. I use a local regression to smooth the average over publication counts and show the average at 95% confidence intervals.
Okay, so it seems like from the first to the 10th paper, both genders look about the same. And after that, there is a gap. What does that mean, Natkamon?
It means that women tend to publish a little bit faster than male. So I measure an average difference of 1.5 year gaps over this publication. We have only few female authors who publish more than 10 papers, so the confidence interval after that get quite big.
Interesting. So in WISPAP data, we also have data on the co-author lists per paper, and as such, the author positions of everybody. First authors on a paper are often PhD students or postdocs, and PhD supervisors or senior authors are often in the last position. Is that something we can analyze?
Yes, we can. Here I plot the percentage of authors for 3 positions: first author, middle authors, and the last authors, depending on the career age of each author.
Okay, so we should expect authors with a larger career age to be more often in the last author position. Is that true?
That's what the data shows. The percentage of authors in the first co-author position peak around a younger career age of 5 years and then drop drastically, identical for both men and women. However, we observe a gap between genders in the middle and last author positions. After career age 15, women have increasingly become the middle co-author and are less likely to be the last co-author.
I have one more question about research career. Do you have any idea if women tend to work more with other women or vice versa?
Yes, we can track the number of male and female co-authors in each author research network. Here I plot a graph showing the average percentage of female co-authors per publication count. You can see that men tend to maintain the same percentage of female collaborators over their career. And in comparison, female authors work with more author women from their first paper, and their co-author network includes an increasing proportion of women over publications.
Interesting. So there are some differences here. But let's get back to the WIS conference itself. I have another data set on the organizing and program committee members at IEEE WIS, and thanks to Tamara Munster for sending the first version of that data set. Can you analyze this data to see how many women are represented in each of these committees?
Sure, with pleasure. And here is our result. For each gender, I compare the percentage of committee members in solid lines compared to the other percentages in dashed line. In the organizing committee, you can see that the other line for men is higher than the committee line overall. So the chart implies that the conference has more male authors than organizing committees, and that's the inverse is true for women.
Okay, I understand. So when I look at this program committee chart on the right here, we can see that the dotted lines and the solid lines are overlapped quite a bit, meaning that the percentages of authors matches the percentages of members on the program committee for each gender, right?
Right, exactly. Now we can also look at the career age for each WIS committee member. Here I plot the distribution of career age for different types of roles and estimate the average career age. Overall, there are roles that require more seniority, including main and oversight committees. So main roles in the OC include the paper, poster, and tutorial chair. And in contrast, infrastructure committees have the lowest average career age that include student volunteer, meetup, and fast forward chairs. So compared between gender, we found that the average career age for most roles is really similar, considering the confidence intervals. However, we found 3 roles, it's the main, oversight, and side with PC, that have women with a slightly younger career age than men.
Okay, so generally I'm happy to see that women are actively involved in the IEEE WIS committees at mostly similar career ages and sometimes even a bit earlier. So last but not least, I really wonder if we have any differences in the probability to receive an award between genders at WIS.
To figure this out, I plot the proportion of men and women who receive paper award, VGTC career awards, and WIS Academy members. You can see that the gender proportion for paper award winners closely match the WIS author baseline. Nonetheless, only 9% of women receive VGTC Visualization Career Awards. It's less than we expect from the women authors. And WIS Academy, which established in 2019, start with the same percentage as the VGTC Awards, but the Academy increased the number of female inductees in 2020 to reach a female representation of 27%.
So is there any difference between the careers of male and female awardees?
I plot the career age and the number of publications for all awardees to see if there is any difference. The chart shows that both genders are comparable in their career age and the number of WIS publications. You can see that the confidence intervals are overlapped and women variants are high for VGTC career awards.
Okay, so in this paper we contributed many analyses on publications, research careers, committees, and awards. And besides that, we published all the data and the results in our analysis script, as well as all the images on open public repositories. To conclude our presentation, can you summarize what we found?
Yes, for the conclusion, we can categorize our result into three groups. There are some measures where we see more men, more women, and about equal in both gender. So first, we see more men at risk overall, but the percentage of women has been increasing. We also see more men in the last order position and among VGTC Career and Technical Achievement Awards. We see similar trends among both genders for first order position and match to the order percentage on program committees and for with paper awardees. Finally, we saw that women published their 10 to 20 paper a bit earlier than men. They were also more often in the middle order position on WISC organizing committee and in the WISC academy. Interestingly, there seems to be a difference in research networks between men and women. As women publish more papers, they tend to work with a higher proportion of women.
Okay, there are a couple of final things we should say before we end. First, we purposefully did not provide our personal views on what we found and reported here. We want these discussions to happen in the wider community. But before discussions start happening based on this data, people need to be aware of some of the limitations of our work.
Yes, there are a few. I want to say that we try our best to recheck the gender orders manually. It is not perfect, but it should be more accurate than most previous work. One limitation is that we have few female authors with high career age. So due to the small sample size, it was sometimes difficult to draw reliable inference about senior authors.
We could also explore more dimensions in future work, including the impact of diversity on citations, on multidisciplinary collaboration, and co-authorship networks.
And we also did not analyze every important data related to diversity. So there are other types of diversity in terms of geographic origin, LGBTQ+ academic lineage, research field, and so on. So we will organize the meetup and would like to invite you to join us and share some ideas on how to make our research community more diverse.